Today I'm going to talk about the Bluetti EB55 portable power station that I bought for my beautiful Subaru Crosstrek here. I don't have enough subscribers on my channel for anyone to sponsor me, so this is a device that I bought with my own personal money, and I'm loving it. So I want to just talk about what its various features are and how it's been for the last month that I've owned it. So this Bluetti features a 537 watt-hour battery, which is equivalent to about a normal 12 volt 45 amp hour battery. That's enough to run my Alpicool fridge over there for about 2 days straight, and it can charge my phone about 1,000,000 times because my phone barely uses any power, and it can also charge my iPad several times, which is especially useful to me when I'm doing video editing and using a lot of battery power. One of the things that make the Bluetti really great is that the battery inside is a lithium iron phosphate battery, unlike a lot of others which use lithium polymer or various other lithium style batteries. So the lithium iron phosphate is a much more stable technology, has a very long cycle life, and it might not be quite as lightweight or compact as some of those other types of batteries, but it's pretty close. And considering the increased safety and the increased longevity and just ease of use, I definitely prefer lithium iron phosphate batteries to other types of lithium batteries. So in terms of all the inputs I have available, so this has a DC input, so this can work with a car charger or solar panel. There's also an AC adapter which you can plug in there that operates on a little bit higher voltage, and both of these charge the battery at about 200 watts, and they can be used at the same time to charge at 400 watts, but I can see very few situations where you would actually be able or want to do that. And it uses fairly standard charging ports. So the AC adapter comes with a standard charging port. This is an XT60 port, which most of these power stations don't use. I've seen it more in things like drones and remote control vehicles, things like that, but it's a really good connector. The only thing you have to watch out for is that it's not necessarily compatible with all solar panels, so you have to use either one of the adapters that it comes with or buy a different adapter to get things to plug into there. But it is a really solid connector, and it's not likely to break off or anything like that. So in terms of outputs, we have 4 just standard USB outputs and then a USB-C up there. And for me, this is really important to have that USB-C because I can charge up my iPad really fast, so that works really well. Over here, we just have the standard inverter. This has a 700 watt inverter in it. That's plenty for anything that most people would need. Personally, I think I've actually gotten rid of almost all of my 120 volt devices. Almost everything I have is 12 volt now, so I don't actually use any of these, and I may never actually use any of those, but it's nice to have that option, and for a lot of people I can see that being very valuable. We have the standard just 12 volt DC output, so these are regulated, and it does have pass-through charging, so you can use the outputs while you're using the solar charger. That's one of the unique things about the Bluetti EB55 because a lot of other companies don't have pass-through charging on their smaller units, and that can be a real pain if you're trying to do things like, say, run the fridge and charge the battery at the same time. And that's something that I do constantly, so that's really important to have that. So to actually use any of these ports though, you have to press one of these mini power buttons that are on the front here, and that turns on the ports. And it also turns on this little screen here, which shows you the power input, the power output, and the battery state of charge, which, as you may be able to see, is completely empty at the moment. On top of the Bluetti here, we have a wireless charging pad, so you can set down the phone on top, and it will start charging. So when I'm going on adventures like this where I'm just at the side of the road or a campsite or something and I don't really necessarily want to unplug the charger from my car, this is actually kind of handy. I didn't think I'd use it at all, but I have actually used it a little bit because it's just so easy to do. You just put your phone on top. It's probably also not the most efficient way to charge your phone, which is why you would normally use a cable, but it's still really nice to have, and it's a fairly unique feature. On the backs of the Bluetti here, we have a light, and so the light comes on, has 2 different levels of lighting and flashing, and that's actually really handy as well, especially since I'm car camping. I don't have to get separate lights for the interior of my car like I did with my last car. I can just turn this on and I have as much light as I need. This is actually a very bright light and it fully illuminates the interior of the car when it's on, so this is a really cool feature to have. Another thing that I didn't think I'd really use that much, but I actually use it all the time. And I should also point out that this unit has a folding handle, which is actually fairly handy. It makes it a little bit more compact than it otherwise would be. So that's kind of nice to have, but again, not really necessary. One of the best things I like about the Bluetti is all these ports fit really snugly inside. everything just works really well. You can tell the build quality is fairly high on this, and I don't have any real complaints about the construction quality. There is one exception to the construction quality, and that are these really nice looking rubber feet on the bottom here. As soon as I bought it, half of them fell off. So you can see one of them has gone missing temporarily. I'm sure it's in my car somewhere. It's just something to be aware of, that the little feet on the Bluetti here, they're just not attached that well. Not a huge deal, but still, would have been nice if they were attached properly. One of the things I really like about the Bluetti are the charging cables. So this cable here is the car charger. That port fits really snugly into every 12-volt outlet, and that XT60 connector is good. They have really nice strain reliefs on either end, and I haven't had any problems so far with this, and I'm sure it'll last a while. It feels really sturdy. It also comes with a cable that has MC4 connectors, and that's really important if you're hooking up to standard large fixed solar arrays. That's how you would hook it up, using one of those. And this is the AC charger that you can use to plug into the wall. I haven't actually used that, so I don't know how it operates, but I'm sure it works fine. All the cables look really high quality on that as well, so I'm sure that's a really good product. The only thing that I really don't like about this cable here is how short it is, and that's kind of a problem. Because in my car I only have 2 power outlets, and they're both up front in the front seats, and this Bluetti here lives in the back seats, in the back compartment, so I have to basically place this between the 2 seats and charge it that way because this cable is so short. I do have like a 20-foot extension cable, but I haven't actually pulled it out to use it, but I feel like I really shouldn't have to. This cable is just unnecessarily short, that's all. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons here. So the build quality seems to be very good. I don't really have very many complaints about it, aside from the feet that aren't glued on properly. But otherwise, the build quality here is just really, really nice. Everything works exactly the way you think it should, right out of the box, and there just isn't a lot you have to worry about. So I paid $500 for it. Obviously, who knows what it's going to be in 2 months, but I think $500 for this size of unit is a good deal. There are similar units from other companies which are similarly priced, but they don't necessarily have lithium iron phosphate battery or the build quality of the Bluetti here. Some of the cons I've already mentioned, like the feet and the short car charger, but it does have a couple of other annoying features. So for one, this is actively cooled. It has a cooling fan in it which cycles on when you're charging at high rates. It wouldn't surprise me if it also turns on when the inverter's in use, but again, I haven't tested that. So most of the time when you're charging with solar or something like that, it doesn't come on because it's not charging fast enough. But when you're driving around, this is actually noticeably fairly loud, and especially because the car charger is so short. In my case, the unit is sitting pretty much between the 2 front seats, and I can hear it very loudly while I'm driving. Having said that, it doesn't come on at night at all. It doesn't come on when you're using any of the USB or 12-volt ports. It's just when you're charging, and possibly when you're using the 700-watt inverter. I can't complain too much though, because it's nice to see that they're keeping their electronics cool, so the electronics actually might have a chance of lasting a good amount of time. One of the other sometimes annoying things about it is when it's a cloudy day for several days on end, which it frequently is around here, and I don't get a lot of charge, first thing in the morning sometimes I'll run out of power. And that's not necessarily a big deal because then the solar will charge back up. But when you run out of power, all these ports turn off, including the 12-volt port for the refrigerator. So what's happened to me a few times now is, after a couple of days of running the refrigerator non-stop and not getting quite enough charge into the battery, I'll go to work first thing in the morning and come back and find that my refrigerator has been turned off all day, despite the fact that my battery is completely full of charge. And that is very annoying. I don't like that at all. I wish that the 12-volt port would just be constantly putting out 12 volts as long as the unit is on. But I can't complain too much about any of those things because this is such a solid unit. I should be able to take this on any adventure that I want to go on, whether it's car camping or any future other vehicle I take it on. Because this lithium iron phosphate is a lot safer for boats, even though this unit is not waterproof. You can take it on a boat without worrying about the batteries exploding. So I look forward to having lots of future adventures with this Bluetti. So later this week I should be going on another short adventure, so I really look forward to doing that. And if you want to check out what I'm powering with my Bluetti, such as this Alpicool C20, check out this link here of my review of the Alpicool.